Hello guys and welcome back to another video of the Real Other User. Today we are going to be playing BTD6 and we are showing off one of the most unpopular opinions Ninja Kiwi just released in the version 44.0 update. Not the new tower, the buff to the Tack shooter that was really underrated and untested and has made a significantly big difference in terms of its overall strength. So we'll be showcasing the new middle path buff to see how strong it is. So let's commence the video. I started this off by playing the reverse modifier on the map Winter Park, which will be perfect to test out the new Tack changes, particularly the super ranged Tacks. I've brought ETN, so he provides defensive support and camo detection later in this game. I put down a glue gunner to help deal with the faster Bloons early, so that we can then afford to place down a Tack shooter that'll spray Tic Tacs at the Bloons in distance. The most notable things to test out is the hot shot and the overdrive, as the middle cross path is available for those upgrades, especially the overdrive, as the middle path was pretty terrible for a very long time. So it's gonna bring in some controversial opinions in my chat, despite the super ranged Tacks being buffed by a margin. So I'll buy the EFS upgrade on the Tack, and then I'll buy the middle path range upgrades on it, as this Tack will be a hot shot eventually. Just to let you know, the Tack shooter got a crazy buff to its cross path, and even the base upgrade from +1 to +3 increase in Pierce, which essentially quadrupled its overall popping power. This means my hot shots is going to even outperform the other path harder, because that's how overtuned the Pierce buff was. And it seems we're handling those AI rounds so easily even without the SRT crosspath on my hot shots. It's because my ETN was cleaning up those Bloons like no tomorrow with his UFOs, as those have abducted the rubber helium, which caused those earlier rounds to be non-existent. So now I've bought the SRT upgrade on my hot shots, as it gives it +3 Pierce, which is kind of crazy, not gonna lie, along with a range boost. I mean, this crosspath was decently balanced before the buff, but Ninja Kiwi definitely went overboard on that one. Let's just skip through the early game, as ETN is the goat of abducting a bavillion Bloons with his spacecraft. Now we are in round 26 and my defense seems to be holding, as I've bought the Tack sprayer with the middle crosspath anyway, to test out the new +3 Pierce buff anyway, as I'll upgrade it to an overdrive when I can afford it. I bought the overdrive anyway, before lead Bloons even came out. This is a good sample, as it should perform a lot better than before with the middle path anyway. The overdrive has 2 base Pierce comparatively to the Tack sprayer's 1 Pierce, so the middle path is 5 Pierce equivalent for the overdrive, which is nearly triple. I've also went for another hot shots mainly for Bloon control measures, as I'll upgrade to a ring of fire later. Overall my defense is pretty strong, as the middle crosspath Tacks are putting in the work for us. There isn't too much to worry, as this defense will be enough anyway, so I'll skip further. Round 40 was a bit of a struggle, because the 0.2.4 overdrive doesn't really pack enough DPS comparatively to the 2.0.4 overdrive at close range, as I've placed it in a spot where its Pierce will tickle all the Bloons. I had to go for a 2.2.0 Tack at the left, so I don't leak to the insides, as our single target damage is a bit lackluster right now. I've also prepared a blade maelstrom at the bottom, just to be a safety net for those mid-class Bloons that tend to get past the initial defense. I've gone for another 0.2.4 overdrive, as the main objective is to show off the middle crosspath Tacks, because of the most recent buff to them. Like I've said earlier, I will say that before the update, the middle crosspath on the Tack sprayer and overdrive was pretty terrible, as it barely provided any value by the time it was set up. The hot shots was balanced, but it felt unnecessary to give that a Pierce buff. because it's so strong right now, and unnecessarily buffing the 2, 0 and 0, 2 upgrades on the Tack. And I'll explain why this change is so impactful. Buffing a base upgrade like a tier 2 upgrade heavily impacts cross-buffing, as not only did it make the base Tacks a lot stronger with the super ranged Tacks upgrade, but also the higher tiers, plus an indirect buff to the Tack zone's already better cross-buff from 8 to 10 pierce, which is game breaking. We've seen Tack being nerfed in the past with its CFS cross-buff, going from 40% to 25%, which was a huge indirect nerf to the overdrive and Tack zone, but it surely did affect the latter a ton and we realized. However, in battles too, the Tack shooter is separately balanced for btd6, which is why it still retains the trashy cross buffs in the Tack zone as we've seen. Overall, my defensive setup feels like a heavenly breeze as I've got a Moab glue to help deal with Moab class balloons more consistently, especially since I've got the Ring of Fire on the middle side. That is more consistent damage and balloon control. Speaking of balloon control, I could consider going for a relentless glue, but it's not needed as the balloon rounds aren't too impactful for my current setup. And I'll predict that the Tack shooter's paragon will be named Bloon Control Nox, because of the way its tier 5s blend with this name idea. It may sound wacky, but also interesting and genius, as the paragon is set to be released in version 46.0 in btd6. Let me know in the comments section down below what the Bloon Control Nox would do. I'll predict it'll have an ultra maelstrom ability that does crazy boss damage and can bounce on screen. I've kind of realized that my blade maelstrom was doing nothing all along. Should have ditched it earlier, but it's fine at the end of the way, because we've won anyway. And here's the victory. So now let's compare the newly buffed middle cross buff with the same old bottom cross buff, and the top cross buff for the bottom path Tacks. This will be a fun experiment to see how many pops each Tack yields. Also, I'll be the narrator for this test, so it helps even out the screen. I haven't sent many balloons to show off the 3, 2, 0 hotshots potential. I'll send the balloons more condensely packed and make them stronger to maximize the popping power of the Tack shooter in general. However, I've sent blue balloons, but the hotshots just destroys them anyway, because it does 2 damage every hot Tack it hits. Might as well skip some of the boring tests.
A few moments later.
So now we got the science equipment ready and now we can show off the 3, 2, 0 hotshots against infinite zebra balloons to see how much total damage it dealt to the rush. Honestly, the placement wasn't maximizing the total damage much, so I'll put the hotshots into the bend of the top. As you can see, the hotshots have got 1263 pops, which is pretty impressive considering it's a tier 3 upgrade. The middle path does carry it drastically. Now it's time for the 3, 0, 2 hotshots to take the spotlight. We'll place it in the middle of the top band, as I'll add a village to increase its range as the 3, 2, 0 Tack had sufficient range after its test. And we can see it got 555 pops comparatively to the 1263 pops the middle cross-buffed hotshots have obtained. The 3-0-2 hot shots does need a bit of support, but even with that, the 3-2-0 hot shots just wins the overall popping power test, as it's versatile, and can even be used as spammable Moab class damage, because it's just 3-2-0 in general. Now it's time to compare both of the Tack sprayer crosspaths, and even the overdrive as well, starting with 2-0-3. As you can see, the 2-0-3 Tack sprayer got 329 pops, which suggests it's only good for single target damage at close range even with the village buffing its effective range. For the 2-0-4 overdrive, it obtained 1810 pops, even though it's a direct upgrade from 2-0-3. It still suggests that it's good against Moab class balloons, especially when given damage buffs. And I forgot to mention the primary training on the village, but I can't use that in the test as it gives both of these crosspath tacks a more advantageous position. Now it's time for the 0-2-3 Tack to take his spotlight. As you can see, the 0-2-3 Tack sprayer obtained 815 pops, which is pretty solid popping power, still not just as good as a 3-2-0 hot shots though. For the 0-2-4 overdrive, it actually got a whopping 2299 pops, which suggests it can do great work against grouped balloons in a band. It's still outclassed by the other path as it's often used for Moab class damage. Also the drawback is it let a red balloon passed by. So now I'll commence the penultimate experiment. We'll compare the Tack crosspath ring of fires with the Tack crosspath overdrives, to see how good they perform. It might not really be accurate when this is taken into account for an average game of BTD6 with the Tack shooter in general. But it's still a fun way to test out a specific upgrade on a tower at least. But before we delve into the tier 4 tacks, we'll compare all the tier 3 tacks with different crosspathing choices. I'll add a jungle drums village along with the other base village, to ensure all 4 tacks are buffed. In my opinion, the 3-2-0 Tack outperformed all the other tacks in terms of total popping damage. But let's transform all those tacks into tier 4s, and send even bigger rushes. It sounds like the 4-2-0 Ring of Fire is going in against the endless blow line of Moab class balloons. The 0-2-4 overdrive now does solid popping power damage when there's a lot of balloons in range. The 4-0-2 Ring of Fire seems to have a range issue still, but still doing solid damage, along with the 2-0-4 overdrive being comfortable enough against singular Moabs, but it seems it lacks the pierce to be enough. More balloons coming out, and the Ring of Fires just have way more pierce than the overdrives in general against those ceramic rushes. Now we compare all the total pop counts. The 4-0-2 Ring of Fire had a total of 34,415 pops, which its damage definitely did wonders on the ceramic rush despite the short range. The 2. Zero Ring of Fire had a total of 35,920 pops, which suggests its range and its pierce carried it against the endless blow line of Moabs, but it's still a previous stepping stone to the overpowered 3. 2. 0. The 0. 2. 4 Overdrive had a total of 9,979 pops, so nearly 10,000 pops it fully reached, which isn't bad pierce wise after the buff. And finally the 2. 0. 4 Overdrive has reached up to 7,170 pops, which suggests it needs pierce buffs like Alchemist in the primary training village to thrive against the new 0. 2. 4 Overdrive, but still better against single targets though. And there we have it. That's how strong the new middle path buff truly is for the Tack shooter. Definitely abuse this as much as you can in beginner and intermediate maps, because it's absolutely busted now, before it gets nerfed. The middle path buff won't help you in those advanced and expert maps except for a few, so be cautious of spaced multi-lane maps as Tack suffers the most there. Don't forget to subscribe, like and turn on the notifications bell to support me, and comment down below if you really want to suggest a new video idea to the real other user. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to use my creator code in the BTD6 or battles to shop to support me. Have a vivacious day everyone. Adios.